Sanje Chedan Zoji Jono Lo Shancha Bada Dana Chapsum Je Dak Chishe Jebe Sonum Je Rola Penja Sanje and Bridge Sanje Chedan Zoji Jono Lo Shancha Bada Dana Chapsum Dak Chishe Jebe Sonum Je Rola Penja Sanje and Bridge Sanje Chedan Zoji Jono Lo Shancha Bada Dana Japsum Je Dak Chishe Jebe Sonum Je Rola Penja Sanje and Bridge Yeah, I can see the music. Yeah, now I can saw last night. Yeah, maybe sometime the wire. They said the wire pick up the sound. You say?
Like a radio.
Yeah, radio. I think maybe like that. That sound, right?
Yeah, it's doing it right now, actually, when you touch the wires.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No.
And now we can't hear you.
Excuse me, Geshe, may I say something?
Can't hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Start sounding.
The sound's not there anymore.
Yeah, I think the wire pick up the some over there. Before we have
the radio.
People change the wire also.
Geshe, may I say something?
Yeah.
I'm constantly being muted on my end without my doing anything, and I don't know if that's being controlled by the people who are hosting, but there's definitely something going on. So
Very loud now.
Loud radio.
Okay, so you heard what it says, right? Hello?
How about now?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, because when I asked earlier, some people seem to find that amusing that I was asking that, but it's not amusing on my end. So if anyone is doing it, please stop. Okay, thank you.
Lynette, sorry, on occasion you are, the host is muting you, because if we go into prayers and you're not muted, then we have to do that.
Okay, I understand that part. But like when I was waiting, I was being muted even while we were waiting and talking. So I can understand that we're all muted at the time where we're praying. But other than that, I would appreciate stopping. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Lynette, at the beginning, on our end, it showed up, it said you were not muted. That's the way it showed up on our end. Before class. Okay.
Okay, it's just, I get these little amused assurances that I'm being heard, and that really doesn't help me a lot. I'm going through a lot. My cat is dying, and so I don't need that on top of everything. Thank you.
Oh, and also just to clarify, because I also have sensitivity to that issue, so I learned that it's just the process here. But then also, I was only smiling at the music that Geshe was playing with the radio, so not at you.
Yeah, me too as well. So I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, I was really very amused by the music. It was nothing about what you were saying, Lynette.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
How about, is music right now music?
Definitely.
No, you sound good.
I think this wire can pick up the music, yeah. Yeah, we changed the wire, you know, there's some, maybe Laura, you know, right? Something, you know, before we get about one, because I want to make a little bit longer. If you buy this one, and this one,
I don't,
this one
I'm
pick
not
up
an expert on those things. Sorry.
this one pick up that the music's on the sky.
Yeah.
If you want to listen to the music, just let me know, okay? I'll just push that back. Yeah. Okay, I just put this here. You should not go there, okay? Okay, anyway, it's good. Yeah, good to you solve the problem. Otherwise, I didn't check the sound. Before we have some people said, then we check, then that happened. Good to you guys hear the beautiful music, the starlight.
That was nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah, there's one pick up the music. Oh, start living here. Good. Okay, yeah, this is the technology. Sometimes technology doesn't work. It's what we want. Make sure everyone just, not someone's doing it purpose of that. This is for technology. And, you know, we cannot control. Everyone's tried to the best. Therefore, I hear someone's sound.
Yeah, that's because Lynette's not muted. Everyone should be muted when Geshe is teaching.
Oh.
Lynette, could you please mute?
Yeah, now good. Yeah, otherwise, you know, you can hear there. Yeah, therefore, technology, sometimes technology doesn't work as we want, okay? It's not someone's purpose doing some, play the music, okay? just make sure everyone have, you know, preparing, right? Anything is our life, our daily is not going with whatever we want. It's sometimes we are not, you know, choice. Same as a kati choice, if they're flexible, nothing to worry. If nothing to fix, also nothing. It's the real exactly. Therefore, side light we cannot control. Okay. Okay, that's good, yeah. Oh, good. Yeah, I got this. This is doesn't go to music last couple of months, but they start again. Maybe they're getting old. They're getting old, then they know something wrong with this wire. Anyway, how are you guys? Good. Looks you guys good. 제자 안에 남주. Hi, good morning, 남주. 안에 당 남주 추단 레마데 추 예매 계셔 말이야. 남주 알아서 말해. 소소 그 샘라 갈수록 레바. 가리에 남주 샘라 레바 싫어 자요 말이야. 대 추쇼 계셔 될 말이야.
레바 싫어 자요 말이야.
다 가리 나가서 그 expectation로. 가리나 레바 쇼 잡다나 소소 레바는지 만들어 난 것도 샘 마춤도도.
So it's nothing to do with the Dharma or anything else. It's just a regular thing, right? That in general, you know, we should not expect or hope, you know, for so much things or have a very high expectation, because not everything that we hope for or wish for will be fulfilled.
제가 때가도 가디나 요도. 나도 샘반 추대와 쪼지 가는 삼점 소소가 안에 샘나 레바시지. 안에 소소 레바 나지 미 파초바데 소소 때 맞춰봐 인자 안에 나도 샘 추더라고 요도.
So because that is one of the main reason or condition for us to be disturbed or unhappy, you know. because we usually have a very high hope, on other people. So, maybe he will do this for me, he or she will do this for me, and so forth. And then that doesn't happen, when she or he doesn't do the things that we're expecting, he or she to do, then we become unhappy.
chowa jeme na tagare, chobo na tagare, and leka pombo da tati o lega chenge na tagare, kare na ngadu milaya, semla, and suzuchi chejo de la reva shubjab. Mi pacho suzu reva najingi, chikchena kone ku hamago angeli, and ni chena ku te tona mache angel. Some jena ani chikchena ko telaya korang muni mundi ta mache angelwa. Te mache waza ani ngandu gowa naji mandrawaza ngandu sem chukdewa, te mamoyo godowa.
And so it happens among the couples, right? Spouses, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, or employer and employees. So, it could be many reasons, right? That you have a hope, for each other. You hope and have hope for each other, or expectation from each other, and that is not fulfilled because either that person doesn't, want to do it, or didn't know that you are expecting like that, or something, for some reason, your expectation is not fulfilled, and because of that, then you get disturbed or unhappy.
And Susan wanted something like a shoe, and the boss of the Tangala, the little two chilagres and the Susan Semlet in the Yovana, Susan Pombo Temalana, and some bad controllers.
So, for example, at work, if you work very hard, and then you think, oh, I did very good job today, and I think my boss will be happy with me, and will say thank you to me. So if the boss, didn't notice your hard work or say thank you to you, then you get really disturbed. You get very unhappy. So did you have any experience like that, right? So anyway, so even if you do or not, so if you don't have the expectation or hope, for something in return, then it will be less unhappy. You'll be less unhappy. Your mind will be less disturbed.
And then they can assembly soy legres.
So if I'm looking, like also, when I'm looking at you on the Zoom, and then I'm talking to some of you, calling some of your names, and then the other person, one person may think, oh, maybe Geshe will call my name too. Maybe he will call. So he's like you, someone of you is hoping that Geshe will call your name. And then when Geshe doesn't call, then you get, oh, he didn't call me. He didn't call my name. Then you get disturbed like that because you had that expectation or hope. So, but if you don't have that hope or expectation in your mind, if he calls, if he doesn't call, doesn't call. If you don't care about that, then whatever happens, it will not disturb your mind. If you are called or not called, your mind will not be disturbed. So from my side, there's no bias, or differences of who to call and who not to call. But some of you might have the expectation, and then you, when that is not fulfilled, then you get upset. And same in the monastery, you know, when we used to study, and we think that we studied very well and took the exam very well, did a very good job in the exam, and then we're expecting our teacher will come and say, "Oh, you did a very good job. You know, that's very nice," like praise, you know, in some way. But then when we see the teacher and then teacher doesn't, you know, respond in any good way, then we get discouraged. Oh, I did all this study. I didn't get any praises, so there's no point studying anymore. Like that, you know, that kind of, even so bad, you know, you get to get disappointed like that.
제가 때때는 가서 미자 부모 자와 안에 스스로는 수중원에 삼라야지. 아래와 슈첨보 제와나 대나지 미파조 콜라 다나지 마치와나 아니 나도 샘 추네 아니 마모용 다 가디나 때는 거 저도 때 냠내 제오다.
And so it is, like I said, you know, it is nothing to do with the Dharma or religious person or not religious person, you know. Because everybody, you know, was it a monk or nun or lay person, we all have that, you know, expectation and hope. And when we have that, too much of that, then when that is not fulfilled, and then we get always upset. You know? And so it's best is to not have that kind of, you know, high hope or expectations. So this is something that you have to every day think, you know, and practice, to not, you know, generate that kind of high hope or expectations.
Okay, 근데 옛말에 삼는 샤자는 것도 선배가 대처도 냠 랄렌다고 그러다. 그디나.
So just thinking, oh, maybe it's like that, must be like that, you know. Just thinking like that is no use. You know? Yeah, you know that, and you say, oh yeah, it's like that. It's no use, you know. You have to put it into practice.
배낭간도 배나 소소 배나 파마이 바나 부고용이야. 파미가 응원에 딱 부고디 가디나 안게 담보 영화. 아니 내가 약속라야 텐데 제가 잡대와이나. 부고를 대체가 니바면나 아니 파미가 이걸 소 아메레바 파메레바 잡지 다는 좀 만져와이나. 아니 파미 지 부고를 가로지 막아야다. 아니 파미 생유 차트를 연거로 봐. 대체 보면 이제 부고를 텐데 영화가 니바 두두면 부고를 호비종다 시세다. And
then same, you know, with the parents, you know, towards their children. Some of the parents, they have very high hope and expectation from the children. And thinking that their children will do very good, will get, you know, the top marks and all these things, and get a very good job and very good life and so forth. You know, so they have all these expectations. And when that doesn't happen, then the parents get very upset or, you know, sad and even like, you know, torture. Or force, you know, the kids, you know, to do the way they want, you know, the kids to be like that, and so that anyway, all these things, you know, takes very makes everybody very unhappy, disturbed, and so best thing is to see what is the capability, you know, the capability of the child, what is the potential and the capability of the child, and then expect according to that, and then that'll be much better.
세상아도 배나 다 배나 샤쇼 걸로서 님발라 배나 다 간지 나기 깨메디 가디나 나가 칼라소야 탈레투야 돌로투야 칼라타리죠 강갈 아니 제가 간지 나기 가지 딱 내가 차서 징해 그래가지고 잡대 그랬어. 안 초가 되고 저런데 주 칼라 나기 어디 다 루선어 같은데 열에.
So like in the Eastern culture, the wife is someone, you know, who always stays at home, takes care of the things at home, like cooking and cleaning, laundry, and everything, you know, like that at home. And then the husband is someone who is expected to do the earnings, you know, who go out, do the job, make money, bring, you know, food to the home and like that. So that's the kind of you know, expectation, you know, that everybody has, you know, towards husbands and wives.
제가 초가 됐습니다. 재미팅 알아 차상 딱 그래 제거도 뭐란 게 레카리 초가 돼서 삼도 그랬어. 난게 내가 차가 뭐 제거 삼대.
And then the husband, you know, thinks that it is a wife's job, you know, to do all the houseworks.
다 니마치 초가 제로 내려갈라 아니 나게 아메게 자쿠면나 아니 초가도 고로사 그랬어. 저까지 자쿠면 아까레다가 잡이었어. 초바 자장했어.
And then if one day, if the wife, you know, didn't make a tea for him when he comes home, and then he will complain. You know, so I work so hard. I've been working so hard, going out and making money and all this, and you stay at home and you didn't even make a tea for me, like that. And then complain. So that's because he has that expectation that she will do it.
다 되는 남쇼도 야보도 남쇼 롬발라 제 소수 차 동도 소수 가서 간에 되게 찍지라 궁하는 대체를 뭉하는 대체를 생게 가로 레바슈 첨부 매와인자 아니 뭐다 용할래도.
So, but in the West, it's better, I think, in this aspect. It's better in the West because they all do their own things, and so then you don't have expectation or hope on each other. Saying, oh, he will do this or she will do that, and so forth.
제장아 아니 뭐 도서 빼낸 거죠. 대체로도 남주 고발내네 대삼당 거도 가디나다 최초도 가리 알레 나셈 축돼야 돼 배나 미생가 셴발anga 마가 차려왔대 차 자자자니 차도도 말다 소치데 소소가 텔라 레바슈 잡 되게 소소 레바도 꼬마다와다 간도 대다 파타리 못 차려.
So this is something that we always should practice. So should think, not just think, oh yeah, it's not good to be expecting, but try not to expect too much, or try not to have too much of a high hope like that. So we always have this kind of high hope or expectation, and when that is not fulfilled, then we always get unhappy.
제가 다 딘디도 마요 가지고는 소소는 마요 타타테 탑식하죠. 그능에 싸만지 책임도 갈라는 대고도 대대바는 가서 되게 프로블럼데 거디나 섭도 말어. 다대 섭도 야수까지 소소는 믹스에 대해서 슈치면 맞아. 제거하되 채나 아니오라 용도 그래.
And so then then you become far from each other. So when that expectation is not fulfilled, then you become far from each other. So if you just keep on having that kind of expectation or hope, and then you will never get together, never get close to each other. So the best thing is is to know, to understand that this is not all my hopes and all my expectations will be fulfilled, and so it's good. I should do that on my own. I can do it. Why can't I do it? I can do it. I have the potential to do it, so I should do it. Like that, and just do it instead of hoping or expecting for him or her to do for you.
제대때 소소고 조가 제메 조보 조모 소소 커뮤니티 소바 내가 저 가와 해나때 집어치잖아요.
So this is same, this can be applied, to the boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, and society or community, or at a work and everywhere, So you can apply this practice of not having high expectation or hope.
Okay. 대고 주쇼께서 한 말, 대소소소 대 장도 대치삼도 땅다 렌도면 들어와.
So it's not a dharma thing only, So you can think it's a general thing in the day-to-day life, right? So you can think and see whether it's really true or not like that.
Okay. Do you guys want to listen for some music? I can put this back. Oh yeah. Anyway, 도대체. 제 대치 다 니네변에 다 단대 갑는 건데 도염 내도 되겠다. 잠불리. 다 차상을 빼 무조건 해야 돼요.
So that's one thing, and then the second thing is that we all are facing so much difficulties. The whole world is facing so much difficulty because of this pandemic, right?
제자이나 다 되게 그 밀레피 솔다나 다 밀레피 짱자래. 그 야 찍어 놓고 말했어요. 딱 가서 레피 솔 사람도. 딱 가서 단다 야가질라. 당내 학교에는 배는 가서 주소 개주소 수직 나다 대 나가 매워서로 고마종 배 무슨 야보러 왔 가서 삼보러 왔.
So if there are many ways to think about it, right? So good side of it, bad side of it. So if you think about the good side of it, just one simple thing is that all the people, all the sanghas, right, of the Kurukulla Center, like members of this Kurukulla Center, who haven't heard anybody, any members of the Kurukulla Center being affected by or infected by this coronavirus, right? So that's very good.
제가 쇼게 야라네 테레 소소입니다. 당근에 나 가와서 보쇼. 나고네 디리비나 가서 뭐 돈다 찍 나셔 니 나셔도 고 나티나 찍 말해봤다. 가와서 보이면서 소소 가와 겁나 소소 셈라 팽그레스.
And so you can also rejoice, over your fortune, fortunate of not being infected by this disease, and because in the morning you can wake up and say, oh, yesterday, this many people, that many people, thousands of people have been infected, but I'm not, so I'm very fortunate, like that, so you can think how fortunate one is, to not being infected by this disease.
제가 내가 가든베 김신이도 무슨 로종냐면 두체고 얘네 쇼게 야라네 수봉 기주 자야도 야라야도 공부해도 깨 자야도 같이 다 되나 아니 되나 가와 공부해.
And so you can rejoice over your fortune, merit, of being able to do that. So this is the practice, of the mind training that Kadamba Geshes used to do. They always think, wake up in the morning and they look at themselves. Am I able to move? Am I able to walk? Am I able to speak? Am I able to see? Oh, I'm able to do all these things. It's so good, very good. And so rejoice like that, just by thinking about all the good things.
제장아도 쇼갱하고 소소 셈바데 쇼갱하고 당보야랑 가도 셈바데 야보요래. 그 니바셔라면 대신에는 간주문이 강가 대응 그래 봐.
So in the morning, our mind is fresh, in a sense that there's nothing, not so much things going in our mind, right? So we can direct it in a proper way, easily. But as the day goes by, then we'll start to see things, many things. We'll start to hear many things. Then our mind gets more starts to think a lot more, and then it's very difficult to bring it in one place.
Okay. 제가 가서 군대가 송서 미카지 저처서 되나. 아니 다 단디값 그 강연들이 가는 것도 돈에 간이 책으로 해서 아니 같이 쥐어서 나는 달라먹게 지시요. 같이 쥐어서면은 달라먹게 지시. 되게 쓰디 다 삼로 따는 냠내잖아. 아니 뱀보여래 송송.
And so just like when somebody asks question about this situation now to His Holiness Dalai Lama, then His Holiness Dalai Lama said, he just recited that verse from Shantideva's Guide to the Buddhist Way of Life. It says, so if it can be fixed, then if it cannot be fixed, what is the point of worrying about it? And if it can be fixed, then you don't have to worry about it. So just think that, and then your mind will be much more at peace. Of course, it's not easy. It's very difficult to practice, as it is the practice of the bodhisattvas. But we can attempt to do it, so we can try to do it. We might not be, able to do it in 100%, but to some percentage, we can do it. So we should try to do it. So try to do every practice, all the practices that's been taught, all the teachings that have been taught, and we should try to put into practice. That's the practice of Buddhism.
Okay. 당연히 딱 나도 내가 네가 마블 도와. So 쇼츠 소치데 그 추된 데와 게 말해. 소중원에 레바시 좀 맞아봤지. 그래봐. 아니야, 젬바질이야. 아니야, 소중원에 당하셔야 돼. 다 당하들려면 빼는 거래 그래서.
And then, so like I mentioned, nothing to do with the Dharma, but in general life, it's good to have not have very high hopes or high expectations. And then on the other hand, it's good to accept the things.
Okay. 제가 이놈아 록도 사는 걸 주시나. 다 배사서 록도 차서 섬고. 그까지 달래 지나 거기 뱅 말했어. 다 찔러 가야 살아나 야 대추 넣어서 추가도 야고 따면 되세네. 밀카자 그러고서.
달래 지나 뱅 말했어.
달래 지나 아니 저런 넣고 말했어. 다 달래 먼저 왔지. 근데 미칠지 가야 살잖아. 야 그때 갑자기 샘들랑 그러고.
So say you are sitting on the floor and then a bulb from the ceiling fell and hit your head on your head, right? And he says, oh, it's okay. Oh, it's just a bulb. It's okay. Then your mind doesn't get disturbed much. But if you say, oh, the person who fixed the bulb didn't put it properly, and now it fell on me, and then you complain to that person, and then you think about all the bad things, and then your mind gets more and more disturbed. So accepting is very easy way of solving the issue.
Okay, 대치 다 대치다. 이제 당가도 주종의 세와야나 당가도 샴니지 상주고 샘사리 샘나 깨도와나 안에 내내 대원저발라 샘치 세주 길루저사까지 상주고 샘 냠네 차다 샘치 세주까지 마가와 용거 말 사로 용거라고.
So then going back to our topic, our teaching on the Lam-rim, we were talking about loving kindness and compassion, right? So this is a very special, a good mind that we should all try to develop. So if we have love and compassion, then we will be always happy. We'll go from happiness to happiness. So if you have that mind, then nobody will be unhappy to you. Nobody will think bad about you. You'll be always happy. So it is really not easy, to develop that. Very difficult. It's a high-level practice, but if we can, of course, if we attempt, we can do it. And of course, you have to proceed it. It has to be preceded by the former practices of recognizing all sentient beings as mother, and before that, of course, equalizing all sentient beings. So we tried to do that practice a little bit last time, right? So did you have a chance to do more practice on that? So yeah, try to do as much practice as possible at home also. Of course, it's not something that will happen like that overnight. It takes time, but if you keep on doing and doing that, it will eventually come.
제자가 안에 담보 따념 세미나 샤도나 안에 되네다 마시다리 저도 깔레카오요나 한번나 가지 그래 소소라 펜도 쟁여로 소소라 까디치 모여 봤네 다시 검사와나 대답대요나 타니야로.
And then after that, once you have equalized all sentient beings, then as I said, they've been equal to me as a friend, enemy, stranger. Then after that, you think of how all sentient being has been your mother. And if it is difficult, for you to think about being a mother, then think about somebody else, like something else, like a father, friend, and so forth, right? So whoever has been kind to you, somebody like that.
아니 소소라 까디 제조 많이 봐지. 근데 되게 까디 가리가리 땅요와 대선부터나 아니 telaya 까디 판 제국을 상불로 지은 거로 봤어.
Somebody who has been kind to you. So if you think about the person who has been kind to you, then you will think about his kindnesses or her kindnesses, right? And then when you think about his or her kindnesses, then you will think about repaying his kindnesses or his or her kindnesses.
아니 테닐로들레나 티 라슈고 아니 고 바지 전체 주소 아니 영웅 샴바코 메디카레 가지 소소라 나와 동기 통용 거리 메디.
Then after that, once you have that mind, of seeing somebody has been very kind to you, and think about their kindness, and then wish to repay their kindness, then your mind, will automatically, love that person and have a affectionate love towards that person.
아니 텔레슈나 티 질 라슈고 니제서 고타다 레양 거레스.
And then once you have that affectionate love to that person, and then when you see the suffering of that person, being, then you automatically have compassion towards that person.
Okay. 다 담보던 망아 까망알 곰작인다. 까망알 곰작 맛이 따뇽 맛이 전체 주소 영어 샤바 니제 파르치 곰쇼 왔어.
Okay, now we're going to do meditation for about 5 minutes. So starting from the equalizing all sentient beings, equanimity, yes, starting with equanimity, recognize all sentient beings as your mother, and remember their kindness and wish to repay their kindness, and then develop an affectionate love, and then after that, great compassion. So all the way up to from equanimity, all the way to compassion. Meditate about 5 minutes. Did you get to the compassion?
Not yet. Still on the way. So
like that, try to do a little bit of meditations, okay?
Okay.
So now we're going to do the compassion, okay? So we try to get to the compassion, but we just, got hanged on that, right? What page is in on the compassion?
It's on page 530. It's line 341.
How many pages?
It is 3 pages.
So we're not going to go through all the, not going to read the whole thing here now, but you can read it at home, okay? So compassion, right? What is compassion, and what is the object of compassion? So the object of compassion, is a suffering being, and a being, who are tormented by any of the 3 kinds of sufferings: the suffering of change, and all pervasive suffering. So you already know what are those 3 kinds of sufferings, right? The suffering of change, and all pervasive condition suffering. We already talked about that, or discussed about that, or studied about that in the section on the medium scope. Right? So I think it will be repetitive to go through that again. So if you think, may this ball be free from suffering, then that is the wrong compassion. It's no suffering. The ball doesn't have suffering. And then that is the object of compassion. So the object of compassion, and what is the aspect? What is the aspect of the compassion, or what aspect of the mind of the compassion? So the mind, and that wishes others to be free from suffering. How wonderful if they are free from suffering. That thinking, that kind of mind, is called compassion. It's the aspect of compassion. So that kind of compassion, wishing others to be free from suffering, is there in the minds, of all practitioners, of the Hinayanas or Mahayanas. And then, when you develop that wish, thinking that may they be free from the suffering, and I myself, will free them from suffering. Then that becomes the Mahayana compassion. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the difference between that compassion of the Hinayanas and Mahayana is, like I said, wishing them to be free from suffering. We all have that, but then wishing to protect them from suffering. It says, I will protect them from suffering. So wishing to protect them from the suffering is the Mahayana suffering, the great compassion, right? So it's not like not taking the responsibility. So you might think also that taking the responsibility is the superior intention, right? Or the altruism, which is the next level after the great compassion. So that difference is and wishing to protect, wishing them to be free from suffering, and wishing to protect them from suffering, and thus cure them from suffering. So that's the great compassion. And then after that, when you take the responsibility to do it myself, then that comes the altruism.
오제 다 제자단다 람름 그 나라 람름 넘버 나라 되게 담보 안에 가로 미파 아니 pendant logique ta puis siamba lu pa de ta chik she ni she sum she gero what neje la migo de mipa samiro was.
And so, like it is said in the liberation in the palm of your hand, when you're the object of your compassion, it's like a sheep that's been taken taken to be slaughtered, in the butchers and the shop. Like you see, there's the first sheep, which is being slaughtered, and then after that, there's another sheep and another sheep. They're all lined up, to go to the butcher's shop, to be slaughtered. So like that kind of being you aim at, and think of compassion like that.
가지 미사데 가지 둥아 라파 단다 pendant 초종할 날 둥아 초종 통데.
So for the compassion, I mean, like regular compassion, you have to see the suffering. You have to see the obvious sufferings, right? Like the suffering of suffering, but we don't see the suffering of change or suffering. All probably suffering is far away for us. And so, like right now, do you see any suffering in me?
제자 나라 둥아 가데스 둥아 샘 가데스.
But I have a lot of suffering, full of suffering.
제자 내 지나서 나 둥아에 오게 통금 못 됐어. 지나이나 샘라 쳐서 샘라 나무를 잡고도 로데.
So like right now, when I'm looking at you, you all look happy. I don't see any suffering in you, but you have a lot of sufferings, right? So many things, worries going in the back of your mind.
이나 되게 되는가도 이제 제도 맞다. 너도 피게라 피 샘신지 당원은 나도 삼돌랭이도 나 샘제 베나 시미로 시로 깜바차다 라바 토와는 가도 샘랑 메시지 토와랭도 무쇼어데는 근데 이거 들어봐.
And so like that, when you see somebody happy, then you don't get compassion towards them. If you know they're suffering, then you will get compassion, right? So you have to know they are suffering of change or all kinds of suffering. If you don't see that, then of course that's very difficult for us to see, and so we won't be able to get compassion like that, right? So therefore, we have to see obvious suffering, the suffering of suffering. There's some being, who is going through that suffering of suffering, like somebody who is injured or who is, who is about to be slaughtered, and like that. So if you think about that, then you will really get compassion. And so, so here in the liberation in the palm of your hand, it gives an example now of a sheep that is about to be slaughtered.
이나 대양아도 서서 맞이나 가도 미카실라 텐데 살마다나 야 샘투로들 트레나 테마 살마다나 야 그래.
And then again, this can be very too much, for somebody to think like that. Then if it is, if it disturbs your mind in different way, then better not think about that again.
이마나 다 테마서 맞지. 다 세당기 바나 수수가 가사냐산도 그렇지. 아니 텔레지 강에 와 수수 하고로 와. 수수 가사냐들 샘강에 수수 가데는 셰도 고로 봐. 동마다도 잡아줘. 강에도 잡아줘. 든데들 의네 삼고로 봐.
And then in that case, maybe you can think about the people that are close to you, dear to you, who have sufferings, right? Who have problems, and that they always share with you, and then what problems they have. And so then you wish them to be free from that problem or that suffering. And that's, you can develop compassion like that.
Okay, 다 나가지 믹사데 아니 동아지 스모 가르가 나시베 샘지 드리려 믿고 그래스.
So the object, to where you focus on, for compassion, to develop compassion, is again, like I said, being, who is tortured by either of three sufferings.
어떻지? 다 남바들 로코라 남바가나 동아다 transition logical 그래스.
And the aspect of the mind itself, is the mind that wishes, wishes others to be free from suffering.
아니, 아나 동아들 좀 더 걸로더니 동아들 자대로도 다 여러 시단 이지지.
And so, like I said, the mind, wishing others to be free from suffering is a regular or common, compassion. And for it to be a great compassion, you have to have a mind that wishes to protect others from suffering. And so the example that's given here in the liberation in the palm of your hand is that, like say a mother who has a only child and who is very sick, and then she'll be always thinking about it throughout day and night. And then it says, when can my child be free from the suffering, free from disease? May he be free from disease? May he always thinking like that. So that is the kind of compassion one should have. And then, so without any hesitation, without any doubt or hesitation, you just jump in, to help that person like that. So, like, if a child, is, or drowning in the water, or say like walking in the street and then just fell on the road. So mother will jump, no matter whether if there is any other cars or buses coming by, and she will jump, to protect. But others they will like hold back and says, oh, should I do or not, because that's risky and like that. So other people will have a hesitation or doubt, whether I should do it or not. But mother will not have any hesitation, any doubt. She will just jump in, to save the child. So it should be like that. So when you have that, wish, wanting to free others from suffering and wanting, to protect them from the suffering. Do I have that potential? May I be able to do that? So when you have that, then that's the sign of having developed compassion. So then, so that's the aspect of the mind, of compassion, and then what is the procedure, of developing compassion? So when you develop compassion first, towards the close ones, and then, to the strangers, and then, to those who cause harm to you. So if you just wish all sentient beings at the same time, to be free from suffering, yeah, that's good, but you will not really have a strong effect on that. You will not be able to actually gain the realization of compassion. So first you start, with the people that you are close to. And so you can start, with the people who are close to you, like if you have your parents around, and your parents or your children, or your siblings, brothers, sisters, or your relatives. So people that are close, that you are close with, and then the sufferings that they are going through, right? The problems that they have, and then wish them to be free from that suffering. And then there's always that, it's so bad that my parents or my children are going through this kind of problems. May they be free. So what can I do to protect them from suffering? How can I secure them from this suffering? Like that, so that kind of develop thought. You develop first towards your close ones. And And then, once you have developed that kind of feeling, of wishing them to be free from suffering or wishing to protect them from the suffering, then you move, that thought, towards people in between, being an enemy and friend, like a stranger. And then once you have developed, then you can move, to the people that you hate or those that cause harm to you. To have that kind of thought towards the people who harm to you is very difficult. So first you start with the close one and then apply the same reason to the next, like the stranger, and then to the enemies like that. So that's the stages of meditation on compassion. So how do you gradually meditate on compassion towards the different kind of beings?
And the
next one is how to meditate, the way to meditate on compassion. And so the way you meditate on it is you generally think about the sufferings of the samsara, like the particular sufferings and the general sufferings of samsara. So if you can't think about the general and the particular sufferings of samsara, then think about your own suffering, the sufferings that you are going through. So we have, as an ordinary being, we have all three kinds of sufferings, right? The suffering of change, and all progressive sufferings. And so then think about your own suffering and then wish for yourself to be free from that suffering. Oh, this is terrible thing. I want to be free from it. So when you develop that thought, then that becomes a renunciation. So then that becomes a cause. So for oneself, to be free from suffering, that becomes a cause, to develop renunciation. And then when you change that on other sentient being, instead of only thinking of oneself to be free from suffering, wishing others to be free from suffering, then that becomes compassion. Okay. A cause for developing compassion. So that's the abbreviation of these 3 pages of an explanation on compassion. So first is the object of compassion. That's the suffering beings.
And the
what's the aspect of the mind in our compassion is the mind that wishes, and wishes others to be free or wishes to protect them from sufferings. And then what's the procedure or the stages of meditating on compassion? It's the first you develop towards your close one, and then to the in between, and then to the enemies like that. So it go gradually like that.
And ona gomsero kartana o tambo kobasheda sharaga dungasam 대야 tambo ranti gom tane ranti de tsowanin ane te pajana kapogo res.
And then think about how to meditate on compassion. The way to meditate on compassion is by thinking about the general and particular sufferings of the samsara, and that you think about about those sufferings upon oneself, and then when you move that on others, then that becomes a cause for developing compassion.
제가 소수가 dunga 아니 지치다 감도 dun가다 란초바지 텔라 탄도로 야보께나 아니 미제말 갖고 되어 있어요.
And so if you think about the unwanted sufferings that one is going through and wish oneself to be free from that, then it will be easier to shift that on others.
저도 소낭해요. 저도 소낭해요.
Do any of you have experience of toothache?
아니 저도 마켓 나뇨. 마켓 되죠. 마켓 가로 마켓.
Do you have experience of migraine?
제가 마켓 나 용에 되게 아 미셔가지 갈 먹어도 코 라쇼 아 따뜻해 강이요. 때때 무드 숙청벌서 코 토legres. 답변은 nga market na manyos. 대다 nga lam나 nga chira 토leg nga kun가 라리. 고 마가 나서 고기고 가가 잡는 얘기다. nga chira 토leg 말스. 가다 nga 하고 말.
So then, like people, if you have experience of migraine, and then when somebody else complain about migraine pain, then you can understand, and you immediately get a feeling, oh yeah, oh that's so bad, and you get compassion, or sympathy immediately, towards that person. But if you haven't had an experience of migraine, then you have no idea what it is, how terrible it is, and how painful it is. You have no idea. So when somebody else complains about migraine, then you don't get that much feeling. You don't get sympathy for that person. Like my roommate before Kunga, he used to have a migraine, and then he said, "Oh, I got a migraine," and he will wrap in a blanket and sleep. I don't get any feeling for him because I have no idea what is migraine.
제자 내도다. 오, 근데 다 곰배 곰스러 가나 담보 란티도 곰고레스. 아니
So of course you
대전에
have to understand your own suffering, right? Then you can shift that, on others.
가로 쇼지나 트지와. 물론 다야 마지나 신이다 가는 트가로.
랑게트도 대다디 밀람데야
물론 마지나 신이다 가라지. 오다 틀리지 요스. 제자 쇼지나 트지요레스.
디도다 소소도 삼타 마던 시거스라.
제가 소소 담보 소소 그 빼나 동아 탄데로도 마찬나 저 얘기 동아 탄데로 가왔지. 물론 닝 말스.
So you have to first develop, that wish, wanting to be free from suffering for oneself. So then you can, think about others. If you are not able to think about yourself, no way you can think about others. So just like it is said in the Guide to Buddhist Studies, right? If you can't think about yourself, even in the dream, then there's no way you can think about others.
도치 곰네 다 근데 젠들라 파 곰네 다 잔투저 춘절라 세컨절라나 다 섬제 다 수다스나 동아 마요나 동아나 차와셔서 로드 코 나가슈인데 깨더나 안에 가니지 깨버레스 나 람름 남로나잖아 도와.
And then like that, meditating on compassion like that, and by thinking about the sufferings of oneself, and then shifting on to others and wishing them to be free from suffering. And then when you see any kind of beings, and then wish them to be free from suffering, like when you see birds or squirrels outside there going through some kind of suffering, and then wish them to be free from suffering. And that time, so anybody you see, if you have that kind of feeling, then that's the sign of having develop compassion.
어지 근데다 니제데 빼 메셈베가 아니 개천보래 생각도 빼나 애플지 깨와라 담보 사회된다야 아니 바도 출리된다와 아니 다만 제가야 문 사비가고야 다포 다초져 되더라 말이 이제 맨나 아니 젠데 지천도 그래서 오만주변나라 아니 송요래.
So that's why it's very important, to develop compassion, especially because without compassion, you will not work for the benefit of others. Without compassion, you will not continue to do the practice. And without compassion, you will not benefit others. And so that's why Chandrakirti said in his teaching, composition on middle way, engaging in the middle way. So it's like the compassion is like a seed in the beginning, and it's like a fertilizer, water, and so forth in the middle, and then it's like a result, a fruit, like at the end.
Okay. 아니 단단 내지시에 돼야 돼 시단 람름 전부 나요 그래서.
So what I said about the object aspect, the way and so forth, is explained in the great Lam-rim by Lama Zopa Rinpoche.
Okay, 제가 전화도 근데 갑라야 빼나 이제 꼴라야 빼서 챵바다 암로 다능이 카는 거 마셔요. 저한테 그래야 취재서 취재제 된대야 로다야. 가지야 취재 대단데 답대 고대래도.
And so like I said before, it's good to read different texts that explains about same subject. And like I said, also if there is an explanation on any subject like that, we're discussing. Like now today we're discussing about compassion. So if there's a writing, on explanation of compassion by a Western teacher, if that is easier for you to understand and makes more sense to you, then it's good to read that also, so that that way you can gain more understanding than just from reading the Liberation in the Palm of Your Hand.
Okay? How's it? 제가 대충도 곰자고다. 곰고면 된다. 내가 야포진도 쌈 샤잖아. 전에 나도 칼라 조자가샤 마사드 치바레스. 조자가 말어.
So you have to put into practice. It's just knowing is not enough. So of course it's good to know, but without knowing you can't do the practice. But if you just leave it at knowing, then that's no use. It's like leaving food on the table but not eating it. Then it doesn't fill your stomach.
제가 땡아도 배는 나랑 파스요. 나도 참아들어야 돼. 칼라서나 조자야와 하고 왔지. 칼라 가리 심보야와 하고 왔지. 다 조자 걸어 샤네 조도도 되는 나도 제가 집어러 왔다. 나도 로저치네. 가리 곰나 야보여봐 하고 해봤지. 곰자나 펜도여 하고 왔지. 다 소소 될 파치는 만져야 인자. 나도 샘는 지와서 탱거면 와.
So we're all same, in that aspect, because we all know that the food is good. The food will dispel the suffering of hunger, and the food is delicious. The food is on the table, but we're not eating it, and then thinking and then say, "Oh, I want to be free from the suffering of hunger. I want to be free from suffering of hunger," like that. So it's similar like that. We know the teaching. We know what the teachings are, and we know how beneficial it is. And we know that we have to put into practice, but we don't put into practice. We just sit there and then hope for realizations or to be free from suffering, like that.
되게 배는 냠래야고 마치에 땅가도 가르나 배는 미치기 지나 지금 들으면은 다가랑 같은 것도 미들 막아와 차려 그랬어.
So the sign that shows that we have not done practice is that if somebody says, "Oh, you are wrong for anything," then immediately you will not start to not like that person.
You guys want to start listen to music? Example, this is how to ignorance. Gen dagote 세잖아면 dagote 깨져가 주는 거의 말스. 저도 딱 페이스북에 내대서 딱 기시라 가르다 되다 가르쳐야 되는 내가 거의 말스. 제가 근데 말이 봐서 들려요 그러다.
So that's the sign of ignorance also, Like, I didn't know it was playing music, but you can hear it, and then you can think, what's Geshe playing? What's he playing this music? And you didn't know either. It was how it came about, and you thought I was playing it, but I didn't know that it was playing it. So we all had this kind of ignorance, right? The signs of ignorance. See, and because of ignorance, then we start to make up all these things in our mind, right? And then to complain, and then from that, then comes the problems like this. So we can see this is a simple example of ignorance, causing all the problems.
직전에 나고대 페이스북 내대고 가라 미카지 전에 되는 페이스북 대로 빠지 대로 쓰바래서 아까 가르쳐야 다 쌤 가르쳐 간제 it destroys my mind,
so some people might have just left the Facebook, right, because of that noise coming. He says, thinking that this is disturbing my mind. So why is Geshe playing this song? And so forth. So they might have left. It's not me. It's not me playing the music. It's this thing there.
This guy. I could say, 제자 안에 때문에 대자 간저 간더라. 아니 파초발로 끊어 예매를 하려면 더 간지 소소고 되게 다 소소 상담도 쳐도.
Yeah. So anyway, of course, it depends on the other person's motivation, right? Whether he has intention or motivation to do that or not, and then also it depends on how one responds to that, right? To that action.
Yeah, it became very loud. I just listened just today. You guys told me. Oh, just today. 제가 단다 니제 곰다 걸 전화도 때 곰 잡쇼. 옛날야, 야, 배나가도 돈에 집에 가려야 남중가도 권당에 못 가려야 돼. 아니 소수는 되려야 거기 그걸 가고 있었는데 디나라 지금 동아 틀려야 something이와. 아니 야 가지 소수 지금 동아 소수다 수 봉어서도 야 미카지 선바 맞고 차로 들어와. 됐고 야 탐 겨우 뭐지나 야 니가 서로.
And so, like I said, do the practice, go through that, teachings and do the practice as much as you can. And also, I mentioned this in the Facebook that, when you do the practice of doing the practice of taking and giving, Tonglen, you imagine taking the suffering of all beings upon yourself. And some people can experience that. It says, oh, I'm taking it, I'm experiencing it, and so now they're free from suffering, like that. You can do that. But for some people, maybe it's difficult to think that you are going through that suffering. It's kind of terrifying for them. So in that case, you can just visualize a light, like a circle light in front of you, and then as you take the suffering of other beings, they all dissolve into that light and then disappears like that. So anyway, so it depends on how you feel and which way is better for you. You can practice it that way.
제가 당당한도 때는 연치잖아 시간도 동아랑 좀 봐서 돼. 동아 평원에 무슨 통대와지 공고를 다 공고를 라버레스. 이나 탱어도 야 샘난 삼삼 남다 제거도 대나 때 먹어야지. 저당기 당 거기 동아 삼다로.
And then same, with the suffering that you think of others when you are meditating on compassion. Like, at the beginning, as for the beginners, you have to see the obvious suffering that, the beings are going through suffering, like the example of sheep being slaughtered, by a butcher, like that. So think about that. But if that is too graphic and too much, for your mind, then you can think in general suffering, that the beings are going through, and then think of them, and wish them to be free from those sufferings.
제가 대니가들 배나 가상아도 나들이 좀 배나 부고된데 배나 카툰들이 따다와이나 안 되나지 따 측도하다 지금 남다서한테 따대나 대그 부기 섬에 대 반저자 부기 섬에 맞춰봤지 아니 공답이 남다라한테 어떻게 차로 서로 나도 대 다나지 용식이래서 삼삼 맞지나.
So same like kids, they watch all these cartoons nowadays, right? The cartoons, it's very like full of action, cartoons, where they have a lot of violence, being killing each other and so forth. The cartoons, the cartoon characters turn into like terrifying characters, and then killing or like stabbing and blasting each other like that. So those affects the minds of the kids, and then they find it difficult. They think about that in the night, and they couldn't go to sleep like that. And so that same thing can happen to us also.
제가 계속 굉장히 다른 한테 중요해서 내가도 부모로 제쳐가지 뭐 카트만 못다 카드도 담보도 누가 들여서 말해 직다 안에 디안에나 즉 누가다 안에 직당아도 세리 때문에 드네 돈에 부모 대감다나 아직 공다 님하고 빼셔나도 차도 일단은 탑기로 저 공다 부모들 셴바배나 야마나 지 송준이야 대와도 야마나 셰당대로 야마나 지 제모제대로 야마나 나도 when a kamakashi nyam the keshi pata chuchi that taste similar paluga tapshi chegure.
And so I met this girl, she was about 8 years old, and she had difficulties. Like she's always frightened at night and couldn't go to sleep the whole night, couldn't go to sleep. And that's because she'd been watching this cartoon. And at the beginning, that there's a nice cartoons, so it's really good. It's just attracting the kid and just making her happy. But then later, she found that the other cartoons, as you keep on watching more and more cartoons, then you get to these cartoons. I don't know if you guys are familiar. There's one called Adult Swim, that has all these different bad characters, like the nice characters, like Thomas Train or all these nice characters that turn into a very violent character, and then like cutting and shooting and blasting like that. They show like that. And then when she saw that, she started to get terrified at night and couldn't go to sleep. And now they watch her and all the time watch what she's watching, and then make sure that she doesn't go to that cartoon, and just show her nice ones. And then that helped to recover a little bit.
Okay, like that. 제가 내가 이제 공부에 가라 아니야. 잡자 맞지나 양 소소 semba 맞지와 차 시그레트. 내가 양 되잖아 양 다지 소소가 간다고 그러.
So like that also, when you're meditating on compassion, if thinking about those sufferings like that, being slaughtered and all these things, then got into accident and going injured and like limbs cut off and like that. And so if you think that's too much for you, then just think about general sufferings, and then start to work on that first.
Just what's going on with you. I'm sure you have a lot of inner sufferings. And think about that, then get the renunciation. You also take the example, or same as me, also other beings also like this. They can lead you the bodhicitta. Okay? Okay, any questions? You guys read this book, Lam-rim, the Liberation Pabonka had. And mostly now what I just tried to put the essence a little bit to put together to easy to the meditation, okay? Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
Thank you for your teaching. I'm sorry that I'm in my pajamas. I woke up late. So my question is basically, when I'm doing meditation on equanimity, compassion, anything like that, it's easy for me to think of strangers. It's easy for me to think of friends. But I feel sort of uncomfortable thinking about people as my enemy, because I don't really have like people in my life that I think of as my enemy. So when I'm meditating, I feel almost like I'm like purposefully thinking of another person as my enemy and making them my enemy when they're really not my enemy. And that doesn't make me feel very good, even though the meditation, is good. It's helping me learn, especially the meditation on equanimity. It was really great to be doing that this past week. But is there maybe a different way that I can frame it in my mind so that I don't necessarily think of these people as enemy? That's my question. Thank you.
So like enemy, 매와 enemy 곰고 말했어. 매와 내 곰고 말했어. 소소 막아서 채고 말했어. 맨날 야쇼라든 대대 곰고 말해. 거기서 안에 ཉ한당 발마 곰치는 되게 어렸어.
So if you don't have enemy, then that's good. You don't have to look for enemy. You don't need to meditate on that.
Yeah.
And you can just meditate on friends and strangers.
디나 강한 니데라. 디나 만데 쪽 가서 선바이 비메와 대 야쇼더래다.
So everybody is included in there now, right? In as a stranger or friend. So there's no third person. You should be happy. You don't have any third person. That's good, right?
세상 아도데 라야데 만도데 속에 먹은 같은 속에 말씀. 내 조모 녀사 직샤걸 때 그 가사스. 야소도 주도 사람이 대화 사람이 야 직샤걸. 야 셴바질에다 소소 사람 막아듯이 때다 캐릭으로 숨 샤는 거지. 숨바데 맨날 되게 돼 야쇼다 때 고야들이.
So for us, who think of somebody, as being our friend, as being our enemy, as being our strangers, we can think of somebody, right? So we categorize all the people into these three different kind of beings, right? Either a friend, a stranger, or enemy. But if you don't have that third category and you only have two categories, all beings are included in these two categories, then that's good. You don't have to meditate on enemy.
Yeah, this is perfect. We need like that. We don't want third person. Then the best.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. Yes, Jennifer.
Thank you, Geshe. You mentioned Chandrakurti's text, Entering the Middle Way, and in that text, it mentions three types of compassion, compassion observing sentient beings and compassion observing impermanence and then emptiness. In this Lam-rim teaching, are we only referring to the first type of compassion?
Yeah,
Yes.
So are those other compassions, they're not used in cultivating bodhicitta?
말에다 장주심 깨알아 되네 신나 닌지도 공부 말하겠어.
알레 샹조좀 깨알에.
미면은 미니제다. 아니 가서. 알아 처럼 미니제.
샘철은 미니제.
샘철은 미니제 때도 요라 때도. 샘철은 미니제 때도 가서다 깨고라. 안처럼 미니제다 되네 가서 미면은 미니제.
다 던도 믹스카니 샤라 제고 말때 고내 휴침벌에 셴바도 강라슈 콜레양 거로 봤어. 아니 지데 샘제 마타바토베 강자기 지진이제들 아니 출라메 베니제스. 아니 샘제 돈요토베 강자기 지진이제들 아니 미멜메 베니제데 콜라 거로 봤어. 그 선제기 찬데라고.
Yes. So first, the compassion that you have, is the compassion aiming at the sentient being, observing sentient being or aiming at sentient being, and thinking of sentient beings, and then wishing them to be free from suffering. And so actually that includes the other compassion also. It's just the way you see it, or the way you conjoin your thought, towards the sentient beings. So if you say sentient beings, if you have a compassion towards sentient beings by thinking of them being as empty of inherent existence, that's the compassion observing emptiness or selflessness. And then if you think about the sentient being, that you have compassion or wishing them to be free from suffering, who you see as impermanent, because of that impermanent, depending on cause and conditions, so therefore the impermanent like that, then that's compassion observing at phenomena or impermanence.
Pena tanzi yang wat chedine semjala mine ya ngad nji che chor wat ta ko tanzi yang wat chwa ngado ha ko wachi an ko na taba mai nji che chor wa ta jo ani denzi gi yang wat pena ngand gi yang wat chedine khadala mine ya ko nji che chor wa 제가 아니 denzi gi yang wat che wa tanzi gi yang wat che ani 되게 ya ko nji changare ya.
And then you can also think about sentient beings who are grasping at permanence. So you can develop compassion towards the sentient beings who are grasping at permanence, or grasping at true existence, like that. And then because of that, it will lead you to, although things are selfless and lack of true existence, but they are grasping at true existence, and because of that they are creating all these karmas, and because of that they're going through all this suffering. So when you think like that, then that is, that's the compassion observing, at emptiness or selflessness, and then also by thinking like that, you can develop compassion towards them, So that's kind of a little bit of high level, not a regular compassion, but when you have studied and you think about that, then yeah. So bodhisattvas, bodhisattva, once you become bodhisattva, then you always have those kind of compassions.
tanzi yang chewa yowa ani nganzi yang chewa teha kona ani middle control sang marwa ta ni je ko te yang chewa re sam yang pe pen do.
And so, poor guy, because of because of being under the influence of grasping at permanence or grasping at true existence, he is doing this and that, And then also that helps you to not get angry towards that person. Now you're not blaming to him, He says, because of being, because of apprehending to this the prominence, or true existence, and he's doing that. Then you're blaming, at his apprehension or grasping.
chance de jo ko nong tu shena nga du sra middle corner sama ta ko be ni je ta ko chance karo te cha te kangre nga du te peng do middle da ko ni kha shi do.
And so, like, if you know that the attendant or the secretary, of the person, is bad, and then you say, oh yeah, it's not his fault, it's his secretary or his attendant who is so bad like that. Then you don't get angry towards that person. You're blaming, on the secretary or the attendants.
제가 배태도 시발에 미 봐줘다 땅다 난득이 영어도 쳤는 내 책은 삼나 미다 미다다 미 액션이 가짜서 와.
And so like that also, when you think about the person's grasping at prominence, and because of that he is acting in that way, then you are separating the person from his grasping. And now instead of blaming to the person, you are blaming to his grasping at prominence.
제가 텔레파나 이제 말하고 숨 쉬어야 되고 냉가지도 어디 냉가지는 거.
And because of that, then there comes like these three different kind of compassions.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Who want to listen music? I'm here, ready. Sometimes it doesn't work. Okay, I think we stop that. Okay? Try to a little bit meditation, okay? Try to different ways. I already mentioned, sometimes there's some Western authors, good authors, just popular authors, not everyone. Sometimes also better to not popular. Sometimes we're just looking for very populars. The popular talk very high levels, that doesn't come us. We need to look low level or basic levels, something more easy. This has happened. Therefore, anyway, if you can how to meditation, compassion, then just try to a little bit. If you do every day a little bit, then slowly, it becomes like, used to, when you come first to Kurukulla Center, you don't know, in the Buddha Sama, Sanje Chudan, Soje Chudan, even you doesn't know how to say the word is very difficult, right? Now even you memorize. Therefore, everything is to practice makes perfect. Okay? Okay, now I got it. Start the music tonight. Okay, then we stop here.
Daji perki jikshing me tok tram ri rabling jingi de gien pa di sange jing du mig de uwagi dropu nam dag jing la chur par shu je tsun lame kutse rapten chen nam katrin le chok chur gi pa dang lo sang ten pedren me sasum gi dro e mun sel tak tu ne gyur chi idam guru ratna mandalakam niryatayami. From my two collections, vast is space that I have amassed from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose mind's wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all my lives, Manjushri. May I find the best of complete graded paths of the teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by practicing. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings with the points of the path as I have discerned them. May I uphold the Buddha's teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread or once spread have declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted bounteous peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time. By even this graded course to enlightenment completed due to the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their children. May all human and non-human beings who eliminate adversity and make things conducive for practicing the excellent paths never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes an effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtuous practices, may they always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere. In that snow mountain encircled land, source of every benefit and joy, may Lord Tenzin Gyatso Chenrezig remain in life till samsara's end. Savior of the snowland teachings and transmigratory beings, who extensively clarifies the path to unifies emptiness and compassion, to the lotus in the hand, Lord Tenzin Gyatso, I beseech, may all your holy wishes be fulfilled. You who uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as a bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Manjunath's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplishes magnificent prayers honoring the three jewels, Savior of myself and others, your disciples, please, please live long. Through this virtue may I swiftly, having gained Guru Buddha's state, place each and every sentient being without exception in that state. Precious supreme Bodhi mind, may it where unborn arise, and where born never decline, but increase forevermore. Mig sepete chen rizik, Dri me kien pe wang po jam pel yang, Gang chen ge pe su gen Tsongkhapa, Lo sang drak pe jag la sol wa de.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Geshe-la.
Geshe-la.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
Thank you.
Thank you, Krishna.
Geshe-la. Thank you,
Thank you, Kurukulla. Thanks, Jangchub.
Enjoy your music.
Just a reminder that there are individual meetings after class as usual. So you would exit this and then click the separate link, and then you go into a waiting room and you wait, and Geshe-la will admit you in order in which you entered the waiting room.
Thank you, everyone, for your regular support, that enable the center to continue to give Dharma teaching for free every single day on Facebook, through Geshe-la's effort and through these classes. So thank you so much. Rejoice in the generosity, and please continue to support however you can. Thank you.
Thank you. Omitofo. Muy bien. Namaste. Gracias.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Margaret.
Urgyen.
Everyone.
Okay. Have a wonderful day.
You
Thank you,
too.
Geshe-la.
Enjoy your day.